Bueno, gente, bienvenido, muy buenas noches, una vez más a Mesa de Guerra. Aquí Sergio. Y bueno, hoy traemos un programa especial. Con nosotros pues tenemos un plantel internacional. Traemos a Patrick de Vuca Simulations, Patrick, y
Hi,
nos
thanks for having me.
acompaña como siempre mi querido Chimete, Chimo. ¿Qué tal? Buenas noches.
Muy- Buenas noches a todos. Muy buenas noches, Patrick. Hi, good evening.
So,
And thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming.
that's it.
Of course, thanks for the invitation.
So we're going to be doing some interview with Patrick. Everything is going to be in English. If someone wants to ask anything, just do it in the chat. We are going to translate everything to Patrick. If someone needs to translate anything in Spanish, Chimo and me will be there to translate in the meantime. Let's start with that. Chimo, all is yours.
Okay, here we go, Patrick. First question, an important one. Successful of the company. Okay.
Yes.
Congratulations, really congratulations. You know that the Spanish community is really proud of all your success and the war games that you have done. Please give us a quick summary about the evolution of Vuca the last years, where you are, from where are you coming, and where do you think you are arriving?
Okay, yes. Thank you. So, I was playing war games since 2006, I guess. That's when I bought the Case Blue from the gamers. And that got me started. So, then I played for about 12 to 15 years. And
Okay.
I started a company with my best friend where we sold poker supplies. So we started a poker brand, poker tables and poker cards and chips. And so we had logistics infrastructure in place and all the accounting, tax stuff that you need in a company, right?
Yeah.
And then we went to a convention in Germany where we met Dirk Blennemann, the designer of our first game, The Crossing the Line. And we just talked a bit about game philosophy, like what we like in games, like being interactive and fast playing and tense. And we shared the same philosophy. So we thought, okay, let's try it out to publish our first game together. And that got us started. And then we tried to produce more games in a faster way.
Okay.
But it's a lot of exciting projects, and we learn a lot. And but the time we have is somewhat limited, right?
Yeah.
So we reach our boundaries somehow. Because we got other stuff, and that will also lead us to the topic of the conventions. Because last year we went to so many conventions that we had to take a step back. Right, I have also family commitments, and I'm a reserve officer in the Air Force, so I have to commit time for that part. And we still got the poker business, which earns us our living, right? So Vuca's part of on top on that company, and it's born out of my personal passion for war games. Simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if that's the good answer for the question. You can
No,
also ask.
it's perfect. It's really perfect. In fact, you were just saying what we wanted to understand from you. But coming to this year, no, I don't know if internationally it has been the same, but at least for sure, you know, in Spain it has been a great success. The game New Cold War. So
Yes.
let us know.
Right. I mean, Spain was very important for us from the beginning because I think one of the first conventions we went to was the BeyotaCon
Yes,
in
yes.
Badajoz. And so we went there, I think, 3 times. And this year we had to pass that one. but then we will go to Batalladores this year. So we'll be
Okay.
in Spain again, right? And we
Okay.
try,
Good
and
to hear that. Good to hear that.
yeah, it's an amazing experience because I think the community is so big in Spain, right?
Yes.
And people are having fun and are super open, and we always enjoy it. So next year, I'm sure we're gonna be back to Badajoz as well. It's just the personal reasons with the time commitments and so on that we couldn't be there this year. Yeah, but Spain, I mean, you guys have a huge community, right? Well,
Yes.
huge for war games, I guess.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. I think that I don't know in terms of buying war games. You will let us know. But apparently, what we hear also interviewing other brands like GMT or MMP, they say that it's true that compared with countries like France, for example, or even Italy, Spanish community, we buy more war games than there. No, I don't know if it's the same for Buca or not.
Yeah, it's certainly for the sales perspective. It's
Yeah,
I think after the United States, it's
exactly.
pretty much the biggest market. But
Okay.
also in terms of interaction, right?
Yes.
With people being involved and sharing online on Facebook and social media, sharing their experiences with the games, and also in sending us emails for clarifications of rules, right? And yeah, so that's really cool. And the cooperation with Igor and Andoni was a great experience, right? We've met in Badajoz also last year. We played the
Hmm.
prototype and talked face to face, and so we had the chance to publish the first game also in Spanish edition, because that's also something we have to learn, and it's a bit difficult to bring different languages together, right? Because we're not native English speakers, but we
Yeah.
publish all the games in English, and then we have designers from France or Japan or Spain or Italy, and then we have to translate and then translate back, and it's complex. So we were happy to have the new Code War in Spanish because the designers were native Spanish speakers. That was easier then. Yeah.
And in terms of this is always one of the questions, clearly, if you want to share with us, no? But how many the edition has been how many games in English and in Spanish, more or less? You want to share?
For the new Cold War,
Yeah.
it's about 3-to-1 ratio.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And
That's
it's
good.
doing
That's
good.
good.
And I mean, the designers, they are super active, very involved,
Yeah.
and you will ask any rules question or any issue on Board Game Geek or any other channel, and they will be like,
Immediately.
you get
It's
your
true that.
answer, and you'll ask them if they are up for an interview or something, and they are right there. So
Um, just to
it's
let
really
you know, honestly, don't ask me why, but they were always giving in Alcalá, what we were talking about, no, the other convention in Madrid. Hey, where is my war game that I bought to you? You told me that you were going to bring to me today, blah, blah, blah. And they were all day giving games to a lot of people. So, no, great success also in Alcalá. They were bringing, and a lot of people were happy that you had that opportunity to give into hand directly to the customers. That was great, honestly.
I really like the cooperation and still like the cooperation, and they are so proactive and positive about the game, and they really want to push it forward. And you could always see it also when they went to Spanish conventions, lots of them, and they've shared pictures with me. And you've seen like table and table and table and table with playtesters and prototypes,
Always
and
a lot of people.
yeah, so that was
And
awesome.
just one thing I must tell you. You miss Alcalá, but if you want to come to Cádiz, the
Yes.
live night in Cádiz, it's incredible. Just to let
Yeah.
you know, okay? So think about that. you are still on time, okay? As we're saying, it's in October, but think
But
about
it's
that
the first
because
weekend in October, right? It's 3rd to 5th, or
Yeah.
exactly
First weekend.
that weekend,
yeah.
okay? So think about that, and if you need any help in order that, how to arrive to Cádiz, etc., the best options, we will let you know, okay? We
Yeah,
can
that's
help you.
also something we always have to check, because for Batalladores, as I said, we will go there. We always have to think, how can we get our stuff over to Spain, right? And then the first time in Badajoz, we took a car. So 2 of us, Julius and me, in the car, and the trunk full with the games, and we had a 24 hours drive. One guy sleeping, one guy driving, and then changing, and yeah, it was exhausting. So
I fully understand, but don't forget one thing. I'm in Switzerland, so not far
yeah,
away from you. So
yeah, you don't have, but you
so
don't
you
have
go
to.
to Spain. Exactly.
Yeah, maybe you have to bring many games also.
Just,
Okay.
just
So
give me a second, Chimo. Just a question. Just talking about the
okay.
New Cold War was the first game that you translate to Spanish. And some people just ask me if you are going to, if you think or you have in mind to translate more games into Spanish in the future.
Let's say I will not say no to that opportunity. It's just a matter of time and effort.
Yep.
And so far, we were happy to find volunteers who translated our rule sets to Spanish. So you will find the Spanish translations on the Vuca Sims website. There's a download section, and in the download section, there's translated PDFs of the rules. For other games, it's a bit hard to publish translated versions, because New Cold War is more a game that appeals also to other audiences, right? But if we stick to Hex and Counter, core Hex and Counter war games, I think most people will be able to work with the English edition and then the translated PDF. And because I don't think we could justify a print run for Spanish just to have player aids and rule books translated. If that sounds
Understand.
good. If we have a game, maybe with cards again, and it is maybe, then
something with
why not?
more components and more things that can be translated.
Exactly.
Not only the
Yes, where it's more worth the translation, and and then we also have to find help with the translation, obviously, because I can only order coffee with milk, and that's it in Spanish for me. Sorry to say.
And, and Patrick, por favor, 2 cervezas fresquitas.
Okay,
Also,
yes.
2 cold
Yeah, but
beers. That is important.
yeah. But I quit drinking alcohol, so I need alcohol-free beer, and that makes it more complex.
No, okay. Okay,
Right.
Sergio,
Yeah.
any other question, or I don't know if no?
No, we can continue.
Okay. Patrick, now I was going to ask you about the coming war games. So I don't know if it's better you show the presentation and we start talking about your presentation. What do you
Yes, I
think?
can do. Yes, if you
Okay.
like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just give me a second. Let's see here and here. Okay, let me see if I can make this big. Okay, just
Yeah. No, the
I
other
will
one.
I just need to switch off my.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Perfect. Whoops.
It's
No worries. No worries.
maybe we can do it like this. It's just so you can get an impression, right?
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
size it later, don't worry.
Okay, cool. So, yes, at the printer.
Oh,
I don't know if,
Green.
yeah, Against the Iron Ring. That's our title for the game.
Exactly.
It is a game. I've just set it up yesterday night in my basement because I got the first production copy. We always get a few copies via air mail, right?
Okay.
So when we
Okay.
have a print run, I get air express delivery of 2 or 3 copies, and then we can check everything, and the bulk shipment will come via sea. And so it gives me some time to check everything and to see. And so I've set it up yesterday in my basement, and everything's complete and fine. And that's the good news. I'm not sure. Can you
Great.
see the presentation right
Yeah,
now?
we can see that. We can see that. And if I'm not wrong, Patrick, the designer is the same that this was as Stalingrad Pocket, correct?
Exactly. It's Masahiro Yamazaki, a Japanese guy.
Yeah.
And he designed the Stalingrad Pocket 2 from the gamers. And thereafter, he designed this one. So it's in Japanese, it's called Paulus Sixth Army, I guess. And there was another, like a twin game with this game included. The Iron Cross, I think it was called. You can find it on Board Game Geek. And that was only available in Japanese. So we had
Okay.
to do the translation here, and it's more involved than the Stalingrad Pocket 2, but only slightly. So it's slightly more complex and more on the simulation side. But yeah, it's a bit asymmetric, and it's about the Operation Uranus, the encirclement operation, up until the end of the relief operation in late
Okay.
December. And yeah, it's a bit asymmetric. So supply is very important. The Soviet side has supply units which they need to use in the game to make their headquarters more efficient and to allow their units to conduct overruns and so on. But the Soviet just has 10 supply units, and that's it for the whole game. And the German side gets supply to supply the pocket units once they are trapped in the encirclement. And yeah,
Great. And in
so
terms of the, yep.
no, I just started today because there's an initial bombardment where the Soviet units can do a preliminary bombardment of the Romanian units and get them out of the way and then start the encirclement operation. And I've just started this part today in my basement because it was so hot outside, so I could spend some time inside the cool basement.
Okay. No, I was going to ask, in terms of the system, there is any relation between against the Iron Ring and Stalingrad Pocket 2, or is something totally different? Is
Yes,
a new
it's
system?
yeah, it's not the SCS system, so it's a different system. It's not totally
Okay.
different because it's still a traditional hex and counter war game, right? But it's different. So you can take steps as, or you can take hits as step losses, or you can retreat and get sort of disorganized and less combat effective. So you always have to weigh in where to really make a stand and where to retreat. And it's a bit asymmetric. So the German player can do things like overruns, which is basically combat in the movement phase, with the mobile units, which the Soviet player can only do with these supply units, where he needs to
Okay.
activate headquarters. And so it's a bit more asymmetric in nature. Yeah. And it's not
Okay.
an SCS game, but it's not much more complex. It's also a 2-map game, so it shares some similarities because I think it's also based on the original design.
Okay. Great. 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 That's great.
So that's a close up. We also again provide counters in two variants for the mobile units. So here you can see some of the units, they have tank silhouettes, but we also have a different option to use only the icons, the NATO icons, and for the Germans we have German iconography used here. Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of clearly you are testing as you were mentioning, no? But how long more or less is the designer is saying is the operation Uranus, the whole game?
You mean to play the game? I would think
Yes.
about 8 hours. So we
Okay.
played it
Great.
at the Beotacon.
Yeah.
Last year in 2024, yes. And obviously, it always depends on how fast you're making the decisions, right? If you think a lot, which you can do in this game, then it can, of course, take longer. But I think 8 hours is a good estimation, and it also has two shorter scenarios included.
That's good.
Okay. And is an I go you go typical, or is how is the term more or less?
Yes. For the activations, this game is more the typical I go you go, but it's pretty fast going, and the other side always has a reaction phase. So if the Soviets do their movement, the German player can do some reactions, and then it gets to the combat phase, right? And vice versa. And so you also have to put units in reserve, and yeah.
And clearly you will bring these games to the what you have now to batalladores, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's good news. Okay.
Nice to play a game together if you.
Yes, and we'll discuss later, but maybe also I will ask you to bring a copy to Cádiz, okay, to Pax Ludica. This is something we will discuss later, okay?
I just need to figure out the timing because October is always pretty busy month for us. At least I can promise if it's feasible, if other commitments allow for it, then we will make sure to be there. But I cannot promise right now. I have to check some stuff.
No worries. It's something we have for the summer.
Yeah, I always love to come to Spain because it's nice and warm. People are nice. We get good food. And so.
Okay.
Right.
Sergio, any question about Against the Iron Ring?
No, de este juego no hay más preguntas. Yes.
Okay. Next one.
Also, if you want to translate some things in the meantime. I don't know.
Ok, mira, rápidamente, solo para que la gente lo sepa, el primer juego que nos ha enseñado Patrick es el Against the Iron Ring. Ya tiene impresiones de prueba, la que nos está enseñando. Él ya tiene, dice que los componentes que le han llegado, las calidades son las que esperaban, con lo cual todo está bien. Y es importante decir, que eso sí que lo ha comentado, que el diseñador es el mismo diseñador que diseñó en su día el Stalingrad Pocket 2 para MMP. O sea, tiene una trayectoria importante, es conocido, y la verdad es que el juego promete. Es la Operación Urano, tiene varios escenarios, y la campaña en principio depende, siempre hablamos del AP de la gente, pero en unas 8 horas se puede jugar la campaña, y aunque es el típico I go, you go, sí que es verdad que cuando un bando está en fase, parece ser que el otro como que puede reaccionar, ¿no? Tiene una serie de cosas que, bueno, ya iremos leyendo las reglas, pero en principio es eso.
Y que es un juego sencillo, no un SCS como el Stalingrad Pocket, pero que es un juego sencillito, más o menos, de poca carga.
Y asimétrico.
Asimétrico, y también que tiene escenarios. Tiene 3 escenarios, aparte de la operación completa, que tiene
de la campaña.
2 escenarios un poco más cortos.
Okay, Patrick, let's continue.
Yes, sure. Okay, so that's just the game which is at the printer right now. Then we have right, I called it final preparation, and soon at the printer, which is now really close. So we have one game which is called Operation Overlord. It's by French designer Clem, and it's a block war game. But not the typical block war game like the decision games where you have rotating counters with strength, but it is units are represented with blocks, as you can see. Maybe here you can see. We have two sizes of blocks. We have standard blocks, which are divisions, and we have the big blocks, which are double in thickness, and those are core-sized units. And so you have player displays. You can see here on the bottom, you have displays for armies, and then you can put in the division units and assign them to the core units and move the core on the map and do the operations. Or you can take your division units and do the operations on the map. Right?
Okay.
So that's how the map looks. It's an point-to-point movement game, more or less. And it's also card-driven. Here on the right-hand side, you can see the cards. And this one is more on the game side of things. So it's not hardcore simulation, but more the game. And you have varying victory conditions. You will draw cards. So the US player will draw, or the Allied player will draw cards for his operations, like the targets he has to reach in certain days, and then he has to assign these goals and targets to the calendar, to the turns, and that determines when he needs to reach which strategic location on the map. And so that's basically about this game. That's it's close to finish.
Good.
Okay, Patrick, one question because it's not clear to me. There is a fog of war or not on these blocks?
Some kind, yes. Yes, it is because you don't know which kind of units you have here.
Okay.
Right? It could be tank division, could be infantry division, but not as much as in other block war games. Maybe it's
So
more.
it's not like Columbia, but it's not also like the Command and Colors, because for example, on Command and Colors, you see
it's
it's
open,
blocked.
right? Yes,
it's open, exactly.
In Command and Colors, yeah. Here it's hidden, and you will only reveal the block when you are in a combat situation. But you also have support units, and like on this page, you can see on the top the support unit counters, which are real counters, and you assign your counters to your army displays, and then your formations can use these supports in combat situations to improve the chances.
Okay, the army displays
and
was the one that is
you also
just in
have
the table,
cards.
right?
Sorry?
The army display is the one that is sold in the big in the table picture, right?
Yes.
That one.
Yes, exactly. On the bottom and on the top.
Okay.
Right. On the top, it's for the allied player. Right.
Okay.
So then the German player has to select some strategic locations for himself, which he needs to hold for a certain period of time in order to gain victory points. And he can do some spy operations to locate the plans of the opponent. It's pretty fast going.
Okay.
But No, I just wanted to say, if you like, I can also maybe get you in touch with the designer, and you can make a distinct session. If that's
we will do.
No, you can just follow
that we
up.
will do for sure. For sure, in September we will do. No, I was going to ask you because it's not clear. So it's a card-driven game, but you are moving with the cards, so you have an operation and you do the operation that is written in the card, or how it works, how you move all the blocks, and how you do all the operations, all
Well,
the
you
action.
do operations. Yes,
Yeah.
you do operations alternatingly. So you will activate one spot and move your forces, and then the opponent can move his forces. But cards will determine stuff like your goals, your victory conditions. Cards will also have effects in combat. Sometimes you have cards that, or for any other game situation, they can have a special effect. And you use cards for combat resolution. So you have a deck with numbered cards, and you will draw them for the combat resolution, for the calculation. So here you can see the card with the value 3. That's from the allied player's combat resolution deck. So the game per se is not a card-driven game like you play your card for operations points and then you do something, like in traditional card-driven games. But it has a lot of card elements in the game, if that makes it more clear. But you will
Okay.
traditionally you will choose your units to do the movement in combat situations, and this is somewhat alternatingly. So both players are involved all the time, and yeah. Right.
Okay. Good. 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 Interesting. Really interesting. This Overlord, at least. I knew about against the Iron Ring, but I had no clue
Yeah.
about Overlord. So okay,
Yes, it's
good, good to see.
not yet at the printer finally. So we are still
Yeah.
doing some adjustments on the routes. We had some proofreaders going through it, and now we have the final feedback and need to work on that, and then it's done. So basically, all the print files are ready. We're just proofing and then making the last minute updates.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Then we have
Good.
this one, which is also a favorite of me because it's a traces game, and I like the traces games, which are I think most of you probably know, but they are based on a victory lost from
Yes.
MMP,
Yes.
right? Which is
Yes.
one of
Exactly.
my all-time favorite games. One
Yeah.
I played
True.
most probably because there's so many ways to victory, and it's so fast going and interactive, and you can choose different strategies to win. And so I like it very much. So I'm glad we started the Traces games. And this one is a game which is not designed by the original Japanese designer, but
Okay.
but it uses the same core system, right? And so it's here you can see it. It's the 95% map that you can see here. The final one will look a bit differently. The same with the cover, because we made some cover updates, but just so you see something. So it's not a full-size map. It's a bit smaller even. It will be mounted. And it's the US advance towards Metz and the fortress of Metz, and then to the towards Strasbourg and the river lines. So we have
Okay.
the Maginot line and the Siegfried line, and yeah, it's just one of the traces games. Right. Chip
Okay.
pull, and you activate everything in the range of the headquarter. I like that you can explain it like in 10 minutes to
No,
any
no.
also
And I
gamers.
was going to say that the good things of all these series is that you can explain really fast and
Yes.
immediately start playing. And I think it's really a success, the whole series. And of course, in Spain, we play a lot the whole series. Yes, yes.
Uh,
So good,
yeah.
good to hear that. Good to hear that.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of my personal favorites. All right, that's where it comes from, and I also like that with the cheat pull order, every game plays differently,
Yeah.
and
Different.
then you have
Yeah.
so many variables like the cheat pulls, the combat effects, and what your opponent does, and so yeah, I'm very happy about that one.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know how much time do we have, and
We have
to
all the time that we need. So don't worry about that. And people is really happy to see all these new board games that you have in the box.
yeah, if there's any questions from the audience, let me know. Right?
Yeah.
Information.
Yes, that's
This is
the next for the formation series.
Good.
yes.
The formation series was started with the crossing the line, but we did only decide for serious rules with the marriages. Marriages was the first game which used serious rules, and we want to stick with the serious rules. So it makes going over to the next games way more easy for players, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here we have a game on Normandy, which is it has two maps, but they are basically you could put the right hand map to the south of the left hand map, but
Okay.
there will not be a combined scenario with using both maps. But it's a lots of the British offensives in the scenarios.
Okay.
So you have the Operation Charnwood and Goodwood and whatever, all these British and Canadian offensives towards Caen. And let me see. Yeah, it uses the Formation Core series rules. So it's a big game with lots of scenarios. So you can see here
Yeah.
some impressions from the play testings. It was very substantially had been play tested, and we have one friend. He's an American guy. He
Uh-huh.
was a pilot back in the days, but now he's retired. And he goes to Normandy like every year to teach the Canadian Army about the battlefields and basically he's kind of a proficient with the area, and so he gave us lots of feedback on the map itself. Like there was something, there was a farm, there was a crest line or height, and so we could
Okay.
work all that research into the map. So that was pretty
Okay.
cool.
Good. Just one question in regards to this series, because one of the questions that the colleagues ask for you is about marriages.
Mhm.
Marriages. The corrections. No, if I'm not wrong, there were some corrections that you were doing. The victory conditions. No, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
one is the state of these changes?
Right. So the changes are addressed, and Dirk is working with two of his main playtesters on final victory conditions that we can publish. Right
Okay.
now, it's said because the game has been tested lots, but the problem lies in the activation numbers and the
Uh-huh.
initiative rolls, right? So because it's a very short scenario, it can end pretty soon. So the problem was caused because initially it was meant as a feature to say, okay, this operation in the game, it can be over at a glance, right? So sudden death, sudden end. But being such a short scenario with not as many units, it it was kind of difficult. So they will now, yeah, I think pretty much in the very near future come up with a final saying of how you can use the victory conditions. For now, what we do is to say, okay, just take the end game victory conditions for the end of the scenario and just play it through and then see and determine the winner, which works
Okay.
fine, right? But
Okay.
it's the middle ground for now. But
Okay. So
the issue is
by the
addressed.
end of the year, you can.
Definitely, I think more like this summer, some point this
Oh,
summer.
okay. Great.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Great. Okay.
So this is it is addressed, and they are working on it, and we will follow up with a solution that will be satisfying.
Okay.
Right.
And one question on my side, because if I'm not wrong, there is no game of this series in Italy, no? Based in Italy.
Yeah, that
You plan,
generally I don't have I think we don't have any games in taking place in Italy. No.
are you planning anything of the series in Italy? I don't know, Monte
Not yet,
Cassino or
but I'm very open, so
okay,
we
okay,
always look
okay,
for designers.
okay.
Right? If that's a topic that interests you and you like the series,
Yes.
Okay,
feel
I
free.
have
we
Yeah.
can
uh,
So
we
I
so
have
can
far,
one
discuss that.
question. One
yeah.
question for the people. Just is any of mine to adapt the previous game of the series to the new rule set?
Yes. We thought about this one really hard, and I think at one day we might come up with a solution for the Operation Theseus and the Bug River. Maybe we can make a Bug River second edition where we do the changes, but the problem is the playtesting that we would need to do, right? Because there's some changes, and some changes are also only nuances, but
Yeah.
they will impact the
Yeah,
game
the
per
game.
se. So right. So yeah, I would love to do it, but to be honest, at the moment we have other priorities in where we put our efforts and
In the new
resources
ones.
to,
Okay.
right? But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's
but
clear. It's clear.
yeah, we have another one in the series in development right now in the design stage, which is let me see if I got it here. I think somewhere. Just give me a moment. No. There it is. It's
Okay,
Tomaszów. That's a battle in Poland. And
wow,
we have a
wow.
Polish designer, and
Uh-huh.
he's super active also. So he designed the game Enforced to Heaven, which is about the Polish campaign and an operational big war game, which is also close to being sent to the printer now. And he's now working on this Tomaszów game for the Formation series. And
Okay,
yeah, in the background, there's some more games being worked on with the series to bring it forward and not being like a one-off thing. But we'll see, right?
Okay.
okay,
Good.
okay. You will give us an update by the end of the year. Let's
Of
continue.
course,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm also always thinking if we should do like newsletter more often or
This
a
was
Facebook content.
exactly. This was going
Yeah,
to be
so
one of my questions at the end. Why you don't do a newsletter, no, like monthly or something like this, like other brands they do?
yeah. To be honest, it's just a matter of time and
Yeah.
resources. Yeah, to be honest, because it's sometimes it's hard to keep up with things, right? With so many games being developed at the moment, and then handling also the poker side, right, and the reserve officer stuff, and it's just then sometimes things like newsletters where you think, okay, you're maybe not as productive because I could be working on a rule set right now and improving stuff, right? And then on the other hand, sending out newsletters, it's just informational, and then maybe it falls down the table, which is, yeah, I get it. We should do it, right? But that's just my explanation why we
Okay.
don't,
In any
why we
case,
don't. But
will we will share with the Spanish community, so don't worry, we'll do for
yeah,
you
that's
in
great.
Spain.
I appreciate that. But I've been working to streamline some game
Yeah.
development things, right, in the playtesting and in the proofreading stages. So I'm setting up an online tools to make the development for each of our game projects, where we can handle all the game files in one place. So the game designer, the developer, some proofreaders, all the playtesters, they all have access to the latest files, and it makes
Okay.
sure they always use the latest updated versions of each file, and that questions that come up in the playtesting process, they will drop in. You will find them in the tool, and everybody can see them. And if the designer answers the question, then everybody sees the answer, right? So you don't have
That's good.
like three people asking the same questions, and
Yeah.
it's a tool to facilitate the game development in general. So
Yeah.
that's something I'm just working on proactively at the moment. We also had received messages from many volunteers who said, "Okay, I want to help in playtesting," and I'm super happy to have them. And now I'm doing this infrastructure, and hopefully next week or the week thereafter, I will send out emails to each one of them and letting them know, okay, here's the infrastructure, and that's how it works from now on, and it makes things more effective. And once that's in place, maybe I can find more time for regular updates on in the newsletter, or maybe the blog on the website or something.
Well,
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm aware that there's a gap and we should be more efficient, but that's how things are.
In fact, there is, I can tell you because as we have been discussing, Patrick,
Mhm.
there is really interest and we have a lot of questions from the Spanish community. And
Mhm.
clearly, I was saying monthly, but at least no, each certain time you can
Yeah.
update all the community because there are questions. For example, some word games that later on we will discuss about 1813,
Right.
the struggle for Germany, seminal catastrophe, 1916, prelude to Blitzkrieg. So there are regular questions about your coming war games, okay? And up to now, we didn't know what you are showing, no? And that could be
Yeah,
great to
yeah,
have this
right.
update.
That's a good point, because from our side, from time to time, we would talk about the project and show it, and then you guys don't see it for months and months, and then maybe at some point it's at the printer, and I was send out an email and saying, okay, we have a new game at pre-order. But yeah,
Exactly,
I, yeah,
exactly.
right. So this is a good starting point today,
yeah, that's
right?
good.
And you get an overview of what's going on behind um, the closed doors, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, next one.
all right, next one. This one, the Far Seas.
Oh,
That's a game which was it's like a second edition. There was an original game in the Strategy and Tactics magazine, and it is done by Martin Anderson, which is a really nice guy we met last year in the United States at the Consum World Expo, and he
uh-huh.
designed the original game. And we've played it and liked it very much. And so Julius, my colleague in Vuca, he took over this game and really made it more accessible for gameplay. Right. So what it is, it's the beginning of the First World War, and you have the German cruisers scattered throughout the world, right, on the world map, and you have the Allied player trying to hunt them down. And it's kind of a cat and mouse game, because the German player wants to score victory points, and he can go for sinking merchant ships and finding coalers and doing this kind of operations, and
Uh-huh.
the Allied player has to spot him.
Okay, okay, good. And in terms of difficulty, which level you would say?
I would think it's about a 3 of 10.
Okay,
3
okay,
of 10.
okay, okay. Okay,
Just
not
give me a
bad, not
second.
bad. And clearly, it's completely hidden, and you have like something
It's
that you are moving, no, and the other one is spotting, correct?
it's a little bit different. So you
Ah,
see all the units on the map, both sides. You have one map, and all the units, you know where they are.
okay.
Then the game begins, and the German player will note down on a notepad for as many ships as he wants. He can note down where it goes. Say we have Emden and Scharnhorst in area number 2, right on the map. And then he can
Uh-huh.
write down Emden and Scharnhorst go to area 4, go for merchant hunting. Or he can also write only Emden, go to area 4. And then it's the
Uh-huh.
allied player turn, and the allied player moves all or as many ships as he likes. So maybe he will then move only 1 or 2 ships around and try to track it down. And then the German player will reveal where he went, and then you will see if he was found, and you roll a die for that, and then you see the results. So it's also very interactive, right?
Okay.
Because you're
Okay.
most of the times you will not move all your ships, but
Yep.
just
Yep.
small
So
small
curious.
So,
portions. Yeah.
so you have the option that you decide which ones are the ones that you will move and the ones that will
Yeah.
stay in the same area, correct?
Yes, exactly. And they will move in later impulses, kind of impulses, right? So you can move all your German ships, but you do it one impulse after the other, or you can move them all together in one impulse. It's up to you. And same for the allied player. So the allied player has to weigh in how many of his resources will be sent to a hunting mission in one impulse. And if
Okay.
for one, let me ship, but
Okay.
I'm not as involved in this project as in the other projects. So I played it in Tempe last year, and I had some discussions also with Julius about it. But yeah, he made some great changes. So it's very playable.
Okay.
Nice. Mm.
Good.
That's the Farsees. That's also pretty much there. And
So all
then
these all these war games that you are showing for sure will come this year, correct? Between Q3 and Q4. At least
well,
at least we'll go to the printer. Let's say in a different way.
yes, not the ones like Tomashov, which I showed.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
those,
I'm sure. Yes.
they will
Yes.
not.
Yes.
But the others in general, which I show here, like Overlord and the Gateway to Falaise, the Khan game, the Farsees, um, the Traces of Victory, they will come this year. Yes, they will be sent to the printer this year, definitely.
Wow.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
same for this one, Imperial Elegy,
Yeah.
which is 6-player game,
Wow.
and it's somewhat along the lines of Here I Stand and the Virgin Queen. This is what I think.
Tanto Monta. Don't forget Tanto Monta. That was
Yeah,
designed by Carlos Diaz.
and it's the same core idea of a card-driven game. Now you have cards with operations values, and it's about the time period from 1850 to 1920, roughly. And so the Great War can break out, but it doesn't have to break out. And in theory, it's possible that there's no Great War and all players win. But it's
Okay.
not very probable. It's not very probable. And every faction has unique goals they need to achieve in order to gain victory points.
Okay.
And so this is a close-up of the map. And
Yeah.
here's the cards. So it's a card-driven game, and you will find the effects written in the cards. So it's pretty much self-explanatory in that regard. and it's about influence on the map. There's things like Germany and also Italy. They are not unified at the beginning of the game. So the German player has a goal to unify Germany. And there's smaller wars which might take place. Yeah, and of course it's much about alliances and building alliances and yeah,
Or
with the
what I
big.
have read, because I'm really interested on this one, but all what I have read now is purely negotiation, as Virgin Queen, Jerez, Stan, or Tanto Monta, and it's negotiation between the different countries. But also my question is that there are some mandatory things to do by country, but at the same time, it can be, if I'm not wrong, some countries that they can win, no, at the same time, correct or not?
I didn't get the last part. Sorry.
Yeah, my question is there the only option that one wins, or there can be several countries that or players that can win at the same time if they
Yes,
fulfill the conditions?
multiple players can win,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
for example, if there's the Great War, you have
Yep.
alliances, and if there's two alliances, like one side against the other side, and you have three factions per side, then
Uh-huh.
if the country will not drop out of the game before the game end, then all three countries of the winning side will win the game, right? But
Yep.
if the Great War does not break out, theoretically all the countries can win together. So
Exactly.
it's
Okay. Okay. Okay.
um,
And how it is the turn, no? So there is period that there is a negotiation, and later on they play the cards, or how it works.
yes, you always have the same order of the
Mm-hmm.
faction, and they will
Mm-hmm.
always go in the same faction order, and you will always then, when it's your turn, you will play a card and then do your stuff, like build naval units or move your units, or and then if you have smaller wars, if you attack like a neighboring minor country, then you have things like you can set your war goals. If you say,
Okay.
okay, I have a big war goal, I want to take over the country or whatsoever, then you have different things apply. And there's like wars of unification for the Germans. And it's I'm missing the word here. There's a lot of meat into it. So I can maybe share some of the files with you if you're interested. You can take a look, and it's can all be found on the player aid. And
Okay.
basically, you want to improve your hand of cards, the number of cards in your hand every turn, and you have a faction. Let me see if I got a picture. No, I don't. You have a faction display where you track your manpower and your industry level, and so you can
Mm-hmm.
improve your industry level to have certain effects later on. And you need manpower for your armies, and you track your national specific levels of these kinds of information.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I
Yeah,
can express myself here.
sounds
No,
really,
but
really
it's
nice.
clear what you were saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds really
Yeah.
And I'm
nice.
really
So
interested on this.
Yes.
yeah, the purple ones you see here on the map, the purple areas,
Yes,
those
I
are
was going to
independent.
ask this.
Those are
Independence.
independent. Yes. So these can be influenced, and yeah, you can yeah, have them under your influence. And the other colors are the factions. So you have France, UK, the Austrian, Hungarians, the Ottomans, and the Russians, and the
And the
Germans, of
Russian.
course. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you have let me see if I can see it here. Yeah, you don't really see it. On the bottom right of the map, there's a track called flashpoints.
Yes.
And with the flashpoints, if you control a flashpoint, let me see if I can zoom in here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this track with the
If
with
you
the
can,
squares. Yeah.
maybe like this.
Yes.
Yeah, with the squares. So if you control a flashpoint, you will have certain benefits, like you get more cards, or
Wow.
and that's very important in the game, right? And flashpoints are mostly like regional areas.
Mhm.
So here you have the Balkans, for example, on the map, which is um, the red hatched area here.
Mhm.
This is
Uh-huh.
not the latest final graphical version, but
No, don't worry.
so you can see it.
Mhm.
And so these are very important areas. Or you have the Low Countries, which is basically Netherlands and Belgium.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
if you fulfill certain conditions in this flashpoint, you have certain benefits in the long run. And there's a flashpoint called power projection, which is also bound to the number of navies you have, and you have the Suez Canal, and yeah, so that's another layer of game built in the game.
Okay.
Sounds
Okay.
really, really,
Good.
really
Good.
interesting.
On the bottom here, you see the alliance track
Yeah.
in the center. So each faction has a counter to place here, and then you can shift towards the red or the blue alliance, so to speak. And sometimes it's determined via die roll also, and it also depends, right? If you're neutral and you fight with an opponent and you have a war, then in the end you will shift in different directions in the alliance track, right?
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Good.
just just a bit of
Really good.
background to this game. So it's also in pretty much final right now. So we're just arranging the print layouts, and yeah, it's a complex game though.
Yeah. Yeah.
A ver cómo te lo explico. Si a ti te gusta lo que hacemos aquí en Mesa de Guerra y quieres apoyarnos, te apunta a nuestro Patreon. Mira, somos ya más de 100 personas en la comunidad y además te va a llevar participaciones en nuestro sorteo de juegos, los cupones de descuento en nuestra tienda colaboradora de Interlude, acceso anticipado a las actividades y a los eventos MDG, traducciones exclusivas, el Discord con las partiditas semanales y mucho más. Así que ya sabes, te une a nuestro Patreon y forma parte de esta increíble comunidad.
Yeah, speaking of
Enforced.
complex games, this is Enforced to Heaven. Enforced to Heaven, it's a title which can leave some question marks, because I think many people will not understand initially, but it's based on a Polish poem. And the Polish poem is called Enforced to Heaven, right? And it's a poem about the Polish campaign in 39.
Uh-huh.
And so this is the total map overview. You can see here playtest situation, where you
Yeah.
have army displays for your armies, where you organize your army and corps level artillery on this sheet. You will track all kinds of information here, and it's a basic hex and counter war game in its heart, but it has a lot of detail specific to this campaign built into the game. So it's
Okay.
for the Polish side, it's about morale, keeping up the morale of the population, of the people. And you have things like the Radio Warsaw, which will broadcast like positive news to keep up the spirits. And you have things like, let me see, we can see it here. You have this Westerplatte, which was pretty famous also back then. Like if Westerplatte, the Polish territory, can hold out longer, it will be better for Polish morale. And you have what else do you got?
So it's like the police, what they need to do is they must do better that it what happened, and in that case they will increase their morale, and they win, I suppose, by increasing the morale, no, or not
Yeah,
lowering the morale.
no, basically they will lose when their morale is
Exactly,
lost,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
And so they
yeah.
can lose morale by lots of different things that can happen, and some things can also improve the morale.
Okay.
But basically, it's also an I go you go game with well, not a real I go you go game. You will activate one. Mostly it's an army or a corps, but mostly it's armies, right? So not the whole front. But it's, let me see, maybe like the game turn is a day, right? So we have
Uh-huh.
1 day of operations, and this day is divided by, I think it was 2 hour slots. And for each slot, you draw a chit. So it's a chit pool game, but the chits will determine what level of activation will take place. So maybe it's army level or it's corps level. Then there's things like chits for Luftwaffe, like Air Force. There's commander intervention, which is he can activate any, I think it was 2 units anywhere on the map to do stuff. And the thing is that in the morning, when you draw a chit and you do a certain activation, it will be placed on the time on the activation track a number of turns in advance. And when you draw another chit for the same units, they will have something that's called conflicting orders in this game, right? So in the morning, say they have received orders from their headquarters, from army headquarters, and they do actions. And now 2 hours later, they get a core activation chit, and the core, basically the orders conflict with each other, so they have a negative effect to each other,
Okay. Okay.
right? It's pretty
Yeah.
unique concept, but it works really well. So yeah, I'm excited to see how people think about this game, because it's complex and involved, but there's also tons of scenarios, smaller scenarios where you only learn about the land combat and movement procedures, and then it's layered on, right? The
Yeah.
more complex rules, they get layered on and layered on. And then you have things like the Soviets coming in from the eastern side, and yeah, you have bridges which can be destroyed and can be repaired, and uh,
So let's say
yeah.
like this: you have several scenarios, starting from the basic rules and increasing the level of the rules, that advanced rules, etc. And with those, you will increase also the level of the scenario until you have the full campaign. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes. So we have one complete rule book, but for the first scenario, it's a small scenario, just a handful of units, and it says,
Mhm.
okay, you just for this scenario, you just learn rule 1, 2, and 3, and that's it, and then you get started, and then you
Yeah.
learn it, and so the game has different concepts. One unique concept is also the daily food range. So the infantry units, they could only march or advance a certain mileage per day, right? So when you can activate the same unit in multiple activations in a day, they cannot not always move all their movement points. So whenever a foot unit marches, like infantry unit marches, it will
Uh-huh.
get a daily foot rate or daily foot range marker, and they have a maximum foot range, which is on this
Yeah.
on the top unit, you see the white hex with the 4. It's the movement points, and the darker box next to it, also with the 4 here. That's the maximum foot rate a unit can move each turn, each day. So once it moved 4 hexes, it will be marked with a no daily foot range marker, and it's out for movement. So it cannot move
Okay.
any further, no matter how many activations the unit has.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
different to
Okay.
the tanks and cavalry units.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a
It's
new
like
concept, but yeah.
exactly. You have a limitation in how many X's you can move in the full turn, correct? That's
Exactly,
something like
in the
this.
whole day, yes, exactly. But when you will move, this will vary, and due to
Yeah.
the activations. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there was a question or something. Did I see a comment or? Ah, no.
Sergio?
Yes. No, no, no. Yes, there. Well, we have some question, but it's not particularly for this game.
Sure, no
So
worries. We can.
yeah, it's just one
I
person
don't
just
know.
asked, are you using AI during the process of the developing of the game, in the testing, in the calculation or something?
Mm, I did some testing
Yep.
with where I used like I uploaded our draft rules and asked for check for consistency, but it did not bring the results. So until now, we do not use AI in the development. For testing, I'm not sure how it can be done. But it potentially I can see how it brings a benefit, especially there, because that's the most time-consuming part of the games. And if you could use AI and feed it with scenarios and say like, okay, now run it like run the campaign 100 times,
And
especially like in the games with
yeah.
Enforced to Heaven, where campaign can take weeks to play, right? Then
Yeah.
you will have better results. I can see a benefit, but we did not yet use it. So
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Patrick, talking about other games, 1813, okay? The
yes,
struggle for Germany. I don't know if you have in this list.
yes,
When
I
is
do.
planned that? Okay, great, great. Let's talk about this
Yeah.
one
Let's continue
because
with the
So
list.
this all the projects I now showed you are basically coming to the printer this year,
Okay.
and they are very
yes,
close to the printer. All the other games, um, let me see. This is how we set up our playtesting infrastructure right now. Right, I told you
yeah,
about. This is like the games which are now in development, but
okay, good,
not as far, so they cannot be sent to the printer within the next few weeks.
yeah,
And here
There
we
is a
have somewhere.
there is a question just regarding to this. Is do you have a limit of the game that you publish by the year?
We don't have a limit, but the limit is graphical
Yeah.
artworks, of
Yes.
course,
yeah,
and the
yeah,
limits is also game development.
Okay.
yeah.
And yeah, that's the two things which are most time consuming, and where we also only can make a certain number of games.
Okay. So
Um,
full marshals and
because we don't want the
quartermasters.
quality to suffer, right?
Of
Yes,
course.
yes, yes.
That's important.
And
Okay, this one. Let's go.
sorry,
Give
yes,
us
this
give
is
us
mainly
information because the Spanish community is angry of this game.
right. Yes, it's also from Brian. So the same
Yes,
designer as the
yes.
1812, and it also uses the same system, exactly same system. I can also get you in touch with Brian if you want to do some session later on. Just reach out afterwards, right? He can tell you better about this because I personally did not yet play it really.
Okay.
I played the
So,
1812, but not this one. But there are some differences to make the campaign being reflected. But the charm of the series is that you can mostly make changes with different cards. Right, you have other card effects. You have these cards with set or bound to events which took place in this particular campaign.
uh-huh,
So this is he integrated things like fortresses here,
uh-huh.
I think, and it's in the artworks department right now. So we have the same
Okay.
graphical artist, Wouter. He's also working on the 1813 game now, and yeah, so it's in active development stage.
Good.
Okay.
Whenever you
Yeah.
have someone interested in supporting with the playtesting, you can always reach out to me. Sometimes, still, I'm collecting right now the list with the playtesters and the contact data and so on. And once I got the playtesting infrastructure, like the tools in place, then I will reach out to everybody personally. So
Okay.
that just said, if someone's very interested in this game, just reach out. So we're always happy
Really good
to get
news.
We will
fresh.
let you know because clearly there is interest not only on this game, also another one that we have received a lot of demands is Seminal Catastrophe.
Ah,
When
right.
this one, when is expected Seminal Catastrophe?
Yeah, Seminar Catastrophe. That's the Imperial elegy. This one, right?
Oh, that one. The tricky one.
Uh,
Yes, that's something which
I was going
could
to
be
say,
confusing, right? So
okay,
we
because,
the
okay,
the name of the game was Seminar Catastrophe, but
okay.
we're not native English speakers. But we got feedback
Uh,
from some English speakers who said, "Oh, seminar, it it sounds like you come from the men's doctor, you know, because seminar
okay,
it got to do with semen, and so
yes.
some people said, okay, I like the name. Some people said, okay, I will not touch a game with that name. So that's the reason why we decided to rename the game to Imperial Energy. Right.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's confusing. I get that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had to rename the game.
Anyhow, for sure, what you were saying, this will come this year. At least
Yes,
will go to the printer this year. That's for sure.
definitely.
Correct?
Yes, I think it goes to the printer about maybe a month, and then
Okay. Great.
so
Great.
I think we will have it in Europe at some point this year. Yes.
Okay. Good news. Good news. And what about another one? 1916 Prelude to Blitzkrieg.
Yes. The 1916 game about Romania. It
Yeah.
is well, let's put it that way. We have a group of sophisticated playtesters now. The project
Uh-huh.
stalled for a little bit because playtesting wasn't advancing that much, and we did not get much feedback from the playtesters. But now we have a group of, I think it's about 14 something playtesters, which are now actively working on the game together with the designer. And so the designer made some more updates, but it's still too early to talk about any dates or any specifics, right? But we're back on track with the game. Let's call it that way.
Okay. Good. Good. And if I'm not wrong, on my side, there are two more ones. One is Saint Lo.
Yes, there we go. This one. This
Yes.
is a game design tactical game by two French guys. and we will probably try out to go to a Kickstarter with this one. So
Ah,
maybe not a Kickstarter, but a different platform, maybe Games Found or
game fun
whatever.
or something like this. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. To just to try it out and to see if there's interest, and also to see to learn and get some experiences from this kind of of marketing, especially,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we will try to generate interest in the game. So in 2 weeks, I think it's in 2 weeks, there's a convention in France, and there we will meet with the game designers, and they will have the prototype, and we will play it some more. So I will also get a better picture of it, because I did not play that one yet. But we will make it a collaboration, and we plan to bring it to the crowdfunding at some point in probably October, November. That's the target for now.
Okay. But just a quick summary about what is a low for the people that doesn't know the game. No, it's as you were saying, it's a tactical game. What else?
Yes, it's a tactical game. Let me see. Well, it's scenario based. Here you can see a big, like the big. I think it's 4 maps.
Yeah.
The battle for Sanlo, and on the right hand you can see some units, and you have formations. It's I think it's squads, and which can be well, the opposite of breaking down. So you can combine them into a bigger unit, or you can break them down into smaller parts, right, and use them on the map. But there's things like throwing smoke and engineering capabilities, entertain capabilities, line of sight. So it's um, from the scale, I would say it's somewhere around the ASL
Okay.
level
Okay.
in terms
Okay.
of scale, right? But you have lots of different sized scenarios also for the game. Yeah, but I'm also almost as curious as you are, because I want to see the game
Yeah.
in play. So in 2 weeks, I can tell you more about this one from personal
Okay.
experience. Because
Okay.
I'm
You
also
will let us
looking
know.
for it. I think the maps, they look fantastic, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and the guys are super nice. And yeah.
Okay. Okay. What about another one? What about modern tactics? No, the series. Do you have any
Yes.
plan? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So Modern Tactics has been ongoing for quite a while now. Because we want to make sure the series rules will leave no questions, no open questions, right? So we have done lots of proofreading and proofreading and proofreading, and now it's we're back to speed with Shane Logan. That's the designer. He also designed the old school tactical game series,
Yeah.
and Modern Tactics is basically the new school tactical, like the modern day version of the game system. So it shares some similarities. And the first one will be about the Canadians and the US in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And it's a tactical game with also some things like IEDs and whatever. There can be entangled civilians. There can be like hidden kind of bombers, and so it's also asymmetric, but the system will also be able to portray peer-to-peer combat in modern
Okay.
days, right? So
Okay.
um,
Okay. No
I
photos to
also
share, no?
expected it. Yeah, I did not include the game in this presentation, so I do not have all the of our game projects in this presentation. So
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, but
No, no,
but
no.
it,
Come on.
yeah,
You have
it's also
shown really,
shows.
really a lot of games, so
Yeah, right. The modern tactics is it's not that far away, I guess. So
okay. Okay. And at least on my side, Sergio, I have just one last question that is
Good.
the same system as 1914 Nach Paris.
yes,
Do you have any other war game on that same system plan on a schedule?
yes. The one is the 1916 Romania we talked about earlier. This is
That
using the
one,
same system,
the same
right?
system. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Bertrand, the French designer from the 1914 Nach Paris, he's working on an. It will probably be a standalone on the race to the sea, like
Uh-huh.
shortly after the 1914 Nach Paris game. Um, but there's nothing to show at the moment. But he's working on it, so maybe some time next year we can come up with more information about this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we will
Good.
also we had some very very minor rules questions, but still we will address those, and we try to make a new living rules file in the future also for the
Okay.
1940. So, yeah.
Okay. Just to let you know, Patrick, I have seen the people that is in the room, and in case that you want to ask anything from Batalladores, Juan Francisco Navarro is here. So,
Mm, hello, how are you?
so also, if you need to know anything about Batalladores, is the moment that you can ask. Sergio,
Thank
I
you.
don't know if there are questions. Okay,
Yeah, well,
from the audience.
all the people are blaming you, Patrick, because all the people are going to bankrupt for you because you failed. Because
Yes, they
all,
we all share the same disease.
yeah, all the games
You
that
should
you
see
have
my
been showing,
basement.
it's just all the games are very 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 interesting. Yeah, a hole in the wallet
Thank
and
you.
so on. But for the rest, it's just I have been doing all the question that all the people are been doing during the presentation. So and all the question that we have in the previous uh, script was done. All the games that we have been touched and all the question to Patrick was reply. That I think that's really, 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 really interesting presentation, Patrick.
Cool.
Really good. Really, really, really good.
Okay, I hope so, because I'm always open to talk about these projects and yeah, but yeah, so I'm
For sure,
happy to have.
we will
So
come to you, Patrick, because now the only thing, if you don't mind, do you mind to share with us the presentation that you were showing, and with that we will work in order that also we can share with our colleagues, or do
of
you have
course,
any
yes,
problem, or
sure, no
no
problem.
problem?
No, I will
Okay.
send it over to you via
Just send
email
it to me
later.
by email. Exactly, and I will
Yeah,
forward to us.
I just need to make sure to exclude the HistCon
Yeah, yeah,
logo.
take your time. No problem.
And also,
No
there's
problem.
some other projects like this one included in the presentation. So if you still got time, I can do like very quick overview.
Okay.
So this
Yes.
30 Years of Misery is also from Brian Askelaff, which is
Okay.
he's also super productive. I don't know. There's people they are like geniuses. I don't know. He got so many projects and they're all good. So um, well, this is yeah, about
This
the
one
30
is
years war. It's about the 30 years war, and it uses some kinds of blocks. It's not that difficult, and it's based on a game series. I think it was Academy Games. There was games like 1774
yeah.
and so on, right? And this is basically sharing this kind of system somewhat
Okay.
based on kind of those games.
And
Um,
Brian is always a win, no? It's
He's what?
he's always a win with Brian. So for
Yes,
sure
yeah,
will
it's
be a success.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yes.
it's incredible. So this one's 40 shillings. It's a tactical Napoleonic game. It will be probably a block game with some fog of war included. So you only see broad strokes of the opponent units. You see if it's cavalry or if it's infantry, but you don't see the strength and you don't see the exact type. If it's I don't know, dragoons or whatsoever, like the
Yeah.
type and strength. You don't see it, and it's meant to be able to portray different battles. And initiative in this game is very important, and you have to weigh how much of your like command resources you want to expend in one turn, because you at the beginning you have 10, say you have 10 command dice, and you can
Uh-huh.
choose how many you want to roll for the first turn, but only 4 come back to your cup for next turn. So if you roll
Okay.
6 dice,
Okay.
2 will be lost for the game. But
Okay.
then, except
Wow.
if you roll a 1, then it might come back, and so on. There's some nuances, but it's a very cool game. It's back and forth, and
That sounds.
uh,
Who is the
and this
sorry? Who is the designer? Who is the designer?
it's a guy called Graham, and he's I think he's born Irish, but he lives in the UK.
Okay,
Very
but
cool.
this is his first war game. No, let's say like this.
I think so, yes. So
Yeah.
he came by for a weekend. He traveled here to Cologne, and then we spent 2 days of playing the prototype here in our office. So I really appreciate he investing that time to come by and showing us the game, and so we had a very cool weekend together. Yeah, that was great. So Napoleonics, we got one more Napoleonic here, which is we call it the Grand Battle series. It's somewhat an amalgamation of maybe the formation series, some ideas from the activation system and so on. You roll for initiative, and then you can activate leaders. And it's a tactical Napoleonics game, but it's still um, in the first designing stages. So we have to do lots of playtesting for this one.
And which
But I'm
battle is, sorry? Which battle is
Um,
this one?
it's different battles. So it will be the 1813 campaign. Probably will be the first release, and it has smaller battles like Libert Volkwitz, and but also bigger ones like Dresden and maybe Leipzig.
Yeah.
So it's not sure yet, but yeah, it's in the testing stage. I just think it looks so beautiful. I want to share it. Because the game designer does all the artworks himself.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's really really great. I think for a prototype, this artwork it's unbelievable, right?
Yes. 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 Really unbelievable.
Yeah.
Masos.
Right. Then we have
Yes.
Traces. The Traces series we talked about earlier in the
Future,
chit
another
pool
one.
activation. Yes, we got some more. I also made some notes here. Let me see. I see. This is Yom Kippur.
Yom
Right,
Kippur.
and yes, it's 2 maps, but also 2 distinct maps. It's the Golan Heights and I think the Suez Canal.
So you
Uh,
entered into the Yom Kippur War with Tracy series.
yes,
Okay. Okay. Good. Good to know
but
that.
I've not played this one yet, so I cannot tell you too much about it. But I know that it's being play tested right now, and they are reporting very positive results. And we almost made it now. There's only 2 more Traces games to show.
Okay.
So we have one on the Kasserine Pass.
Anda, mira.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is here we try to use the system from the Traces, which is mostly operational level, and here we have it on the tactical level, right? And we are experimenting if it's feasible to do a simulation on a more tactical level with the same system.
Okay.
And
Okay.
here we're thinking about tactical things playing a role, like you have heights, like hills. And if you have a unit on top of a hill, you will have a longer zone of, not a zone of control, but a zone of influence, which will impact the hexes further distant, and you have minefields and so on. So that's also in some experimenting stage right now. I'm just curious personally if it's possible to adapt the traces system to a tactical or more tactical, grand tactical level. We'll see. I'm curious.
Okay.
And then we have this one, which is Traces of the Rhine. That's our name for the game right now, and it's for the it's what's the name? Operation Grenade, Operation Veritable, I don't remember the exact name. Sorry about that, but it's about the Rhine River crossings.
Good.
Right, and it's
And-
also a Traces game. We're just now doing the version 2 of our prototype, just doing all the updates. We did lots of little changes. Like here, you have also flavor rules. Like in this game, you can have Volkssturm units, which may appear when the Allied troops come closer to city hexes. And you have demolition checks for the Rhine River crossings, the bridges, which can be destroyed. And yeah, it's just some more of this historical flavor, but still easy in the core.
Okay.
I think that's
And
it. Now,
clearly, all the traces with the same core idea, correct? That it was a victory loss and all the other ones, correct?
exactly. The chip pull activation, and you can choose depending on the game, but mostly you choose a certain number of chits you can put in the cup each turn, and you draw. And mostly it's with the other traces games that you just check the command range of a headquarter, and every unit in command range can be activated. But in some of the games we have some restrictions. And for example, if you have 2 US armies, then the headquarters of one US army can only activate units within command range of its own army, right? Then slight variations of this. And then we have some variations, like you can press for combat intensity. You can increase the chances of doing some impact on your opponent, but with an increased risk of suffering more losses yourself. And some Air Forces stuff, and yeah, just some chrome and some flavor to make each game being unique also.
Yeah.
So it should not always be the same. Then does make sense.
Okay, good. Sergio.
People are still blaming you.
I know that feeling. Yes, when
Yeah.
I see other wargame companies coming out with new
No.
projects, I have so many games myself. I'm I'm always thinking I don't find the time to play games.
It's
Um,
normal. It's normal.
But then, yeah, but then if I check on Board Game Geek, I see my collection and I see, okay, I played this one, played this one, played this one. It's effectively I played most of my games. So
That's good.
I don't know when, but somehow it works.
Okay. Well, I think has been a really nice presentation. Thank you,
Hey,
thank you so much for coming. I think
yeah, it's a pleasure.
I think all the people has all the question replied. Well, you're welcome. If you want to come in the future, if you are not going to make a newsletter, you can come here for every 2 months, more or less.
Yeah.
And we do that again.
Nice.
So thank you,
Yes.
Patrick. Chimo, it's up to you. You can finish that.
Thanks. Thanks. It has been really, Patrick, it has been really a pleasure. Honestly, I would like to thank you always. You are accessible to us when we have called to you, and clearly, the Spanish community is really happy. I don't know if their bank account will be also really happy tomorrow when they start realizing all what they need to spend. But no, I wanted to tell you clearly, you have reached, I would say, to be one of the top brands in Europe.
Yeah, it is.
Vuca Sim right now is
Incredible.
really known whole Europe, and maybe you are more on the Napoleonic side, on the a victory loss or Tracy side, or formations or whatever. But there is always something waiting on Buca that you are interested on,
All right.
always. So
Yeah, thanks for the nice words, and I want to give that also back to the community. It's also sometimes when we get emails, it just takes a few days for us to reply or so on. Right? There's some things we can improve on, and we will, but we appreciate all the comments we also get. We're always also open to players' feedback. So if someone comes up and says, "Oh, the latest game, I didn't like this and that," just tell us so we can improve next time, right? So we will make sure not to have fire and forget games and publish them and push them out, but also address all the issues in living roots and errata files and so on, so they can
so
improve.
we will share with the whole community, and we will give you frequent information. And of course, we will see you in Zaragoza. That's for sure.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Well,
Yeah. So thanks
thank you.
for inviting me, and let's stay in touch.
Okay, see you
Right.
next time. Bye, good night.
See you.
Gracias a
Cheers.
todos.
Bye, everybody. Cheers. Gracias. Hasta luego.
Bye.
Bye.